All right, now let's get to the Adrian Peterson case, which is raising many questions about parenting and physical discipline for parents everywhere. And the underlying question is, how far is too far? Now, nobody's going to debate, I hope, with a sane mind, that Peterson didn't go too far. The All-Pro Vikings running back been benched, essentially suspended from the team after his indictment in Texas on charges of felony injury to a child. Peterson admits fully that he beat his 4-year-old son with a wooden switch. Photos show injuries to the boy's head, thighs, including marks from the beating, blood in other areas here. It wasn't just in the back of the legs. He even got him in the front of his genital area. Peterson insists that, hey, he meant no harm, and this was just punishing his son the way he was punished when he was a kid. But it is already raising questions, not just about parenting and punishment, but also getting some opinions that might surprise you, and among them, NBA Hall of Famer Charles Barkley.
He's a white guy, I'm a black guy. I don't know where he's from. I'm from the South. Whipping is, we do that all the time. Every black parent in the South is going to be in jail under those circumstances. I think we have to be careful letting people they dictate how they, treat their children.
It doesn't matter where you're from. Right is right and wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter where you're from.
I don't believe that because, listen, we spank kids in the South.
Okay, I want to get in a second to the geographical and racial aspect of this, but to me, kid's 4, kid can't defend himself. At a certain point, the kid's got no advocate. So it's the parent and the kid. And everybody's got their own approach here. Maybe some of us aren't as crazy about the modern parent who needs a field to have this long, drawn-out conversation when they try and explain why they say no. It drives me personally crazy. You're the parent, they're the kid. That all said, we'll bring the legal team in a second here to talk about where the law is on this one, but come on, right? I mean, do we really have to have, I'm uncomfortable, there's this gray area where somebody thinks, well, you know what, maybe you shouldn't use the switch, maybe you should have used an extension cord. I've heard from some people, it's something, extension cord, this is 2014. We don't do everything our parents' generation did. This should not be allowed, period.
No, I mean, it's a very simple thing here is that you can discipline your child. You can put him over your knee, take your hand and smack him really hard in the ass. You can't leave welts and bloody your 4-year-old child. It's just common sense. Look, as I told you before the show, I hit both of my boys. I spanked them both once in my life when they were 2.5 and 4.5. I feel guilty to this day. Now, I understand everybody's different. Everybody raises their child different. You don't leave bruises on your children. That's when you call child welfare. So it's a very simple case. And the NFL should not want people in their league who caused that damage to a 4-year-old child.
Forget for a second the NFL for a second. For me, Dominic,
if they worked at my firm,
right,
we would say, we don't want you here. Right. So anybody across the board, you can't hit a 4-year-old child like this. This isn't a 16-year-old kid who you punch in the face.
all these things, the one guy on the block rule. I know on every block I've lived in, I'm not going to say who, there has been one neighbor where I'm like, I don't trust that guy with a gun. Or I don't trust that guy knowing where the line is to discipline the kid. Or I don't trust that guy X, Y, and Z. To me, when we leave this open-ended, and again, I'll go through the legal statutes, including in our region, it's like, do whatever you want until you shouldn't do it. And then people got to figure out where the line is. I'm shocked to say this, but I think we need to say where the line is. Do you trust that people all know where to start and stop on this?
No. I agree with what Tom said. If there are bruises to the child or webs or so on and bloodied, that's going too far. We're going to talk about the cultural aspect in a moment, I believe, because there is a cultural aspect, and there is no other way to say this, Richard. White people discipline their kids, some completely different than the way African American parents do.
Tell me why anybody, brown, black, purple, white, or green, needs to use a prop on a 4-year-old.
Okay, maybe that's too young. I mean, I'm not Mr. Peterson. This is this is just one person giving his opinion. But the cultural aspect of this in the black community. Now remember, we're dealing with a community where only 50% of our kids are graduating. I don't need to go through all the stats. There are some problems. That doesn't make it right, but there are some problems in the community. And there's a historical perspective that says, also a mental thing. Not only are you going to get a spanking, you go outside and get the tree limb, and if you come back, and if you come back with too short a one, it's going to be double. And it's either that or in some cases is an extension cord, and that's not a comfortable feeling. Believe me when I tell you. But there
you do realize how insane, and I'm not.
But again,
bleeding heart liberal
I
here.
know,
That's
but Richard,
not. That's crazy.
But Richard, there's no other way to say this. Some white people discipline their children different than black people.
Okay, but if some white people decided that we're going to still drop the N-bomb and they're going to say certain things, I mean, think about how we talked about people and use language.
Roger Goodell should deal with this?
Right.
I mean, listen to what we're saying here. We're saying that, as we know, in the South is probably the only region of the country that spanking your child is still prevalent. The research has shown that it's still the South. And 85% of the African-American community, to the point you just made, and as Charles Barkley just said, takes part in that. Right. Look, it's when I heard that Michael Vick said, well, dog fighting, that's big in our culture.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't make it right.
Exactly.
And you got to just say what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. You got to at some point say we can't tolerate this, and we can't tolerate this as the face of our league.
But I'm uncomfortable with us as a group, or even the larger us, being able to determine this is where the line is, and this is the tool you're allowed to use or not allowed to use. And in the same way that you wouldn't want anybody telling you how to discipline your kids, why would they want you telling them how to discipline theirs?
Andrew, no. You said a statement. If the law told me that I can't,
half a statement,
but the law tells me I can't take a branch to my kid, I'm going to go abide by the law. I don't need me to feel uncomfortable.
That's not what the law says.
But maybe it's time it does.
Maybe, and
yeah,
we can certainly engage in that debate. And if we want to change the law and there's enough support to change the law, then that becomes the law of the land. But everybody gets to a certain degree, and every case is different. And that's the thing. You apply these blanket statements on so many issues. We come in here and we say, this is the line, and anything that crosses the line that we arbitrarily establish.
So are you comfortable with letting people use sticks on 4-year-olds? It's a simple question.
Anything that crosses over the line that we arbitrarily establish, we say is absolutely no good.
That's BS. You're not answering the question.
When every single case is different, and you don't know what the mitigating factors are in any particular case. That's why everybody deserves an individual hearing so that they can make the arguments in their own defense. The kid's bleeding.
You saw the photos. We chose not to put on the air, okay? Do you believe what he did was criminal?
I don't believe under the laws of the state of Texas it was criminal.
You want to deal with each one individually, Andrew. Do you think what he did was criminal?
According to the law, it's not criminal. Do I think it was wrong? Yes. Do I think it's criminal?
We're going to get your reaction. You know how to sound off on Facebook and Twitter. And when we come back, I'll bring in the legal panel to tell me what they think about this one. We're going to be back with them right after this.